senior political analyst, former Pennsylvania senator, and senior advisor to the Convention of States, Rick Santorum. So Democrats are still trying to convince everyone, don't believe your eyes. Here's California Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Mad Maxine, saying there's no violence. Take a listen.
Even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know.
I mean, these are the same people that told us, don't believe your eyes on inflation, immigration, Joe Biden. So now don't believe your eyes on burning cars, rocks being thrown at federal agents, nothing to see here. Just move on.
That's why Newsmax is so important, and what we're doing here is showing the truth. Don't show me. Keep showing the clips, because one of the things I was just noticing while you were talking to the governor is you weren't like on a like 10 seconds or 30 seconds of clips, and then you had to repeat. They were all new, as you know, for several minutes. It's not like you just have like one or two shots of a burning car or looting, but what continual, you have lots of film there of what was going on, and this is it's so important to have news media out there telling the truth about what's going on. Are there peaceful protesters? Well, of course there are some peaceful protesters out there. But the bottom line is there are riots going on, and while there may be a lot of peaceful protesters, there are a lot of violent protesters, and those violent protesters have to be confronted. And that's what Donald Trump is doing, and that's what Gavin Newsom is. And what Maxine Waters and Gavin Newsom are doing is they're relying upon the rest of the media to just report their side of the story, not to show these clips that you're showing, not to report about what the violence is, and they believe they can control the narrative. Why? Because for decades they have, because there hasn't been media out there that actually shows the truth about what's going on, whether it's on riots or whether it's on public policy or whether it's on national security. There's never been, there hasn't been this share of voice where people can get the information they need, and that's changing, and it's a real threat to them and their ability to keep control in America.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Senator. You know, it only took 4 days of rioting, but Mayor Karen Bass officially, she enacted this 8 p.m. emergency curfew for downtown LA. You know, this.
Why would you do that, Allison?
Yeah,
why have a curfew if everything's peaceful?
Yeah, it's just nothing to see here. But, you know, so obviously when she did that, you know, there were a lot of arrests. Why do you think it takes the Democratic leadership days to do anything? You know, I just keep thinking about this. This would be their opportunity to lead and take control of a situation and maybe rebuild their party for a hot second, you know, but no, they just continue to A, blame Trump, and B, say there's nothing to see here.
Power. I know, Mark, you've heard me talk about this, and I know you have other guests on who understand what the motivation is for the Democrats with every situation, which is how can they gather more power and keep the power they have, and they can't show that they're failing, so they have to shift the blame and make it look like it's again politics to show that the other side is really to blame here. Why? Because it's trying to protect their power. If they showed their incompetence, if they admitted their incompetence, if they admitted that they were not doing their job, and that whether it was allowing all these illegal immigrants in, giving them all these benefits, and then allowing them to riot when ICE tries to deport them, then they wouldn't be popular. So they can't let that narrative go out there because it would undermine their ability to win elections. So they have to create an alternative narrative not based in reality.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.